Hello, Lisa here. Welcome to Walking the Self-Worth Path, a series where I share with you my favorite tarot and witchy tools, techniques, and rituals to support your journey to an empowered life. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favorite spreads and crystals that I like to use to support my self-care practice. Self-care is another one of these pivotal areas of a self-worth path because when we're working on improving who we are, when we're working on improving the relationship with who we are, pausing to actually take care of ourselves is so critical, and I love using both crystals and different card spreads to support that practice. I regularly move to my cards to do readings for myself when I'm feeling depleted, and I find that working with different decks and working with different spreads and crystals all just help to create an environment that feels really cozy and that feels like I've set it up for me. When I set out specific crystals to do my self-care work, when I pull out a specific deck or set up a specific tarot spread, it just helps me to really focus in on what it is I'm trying to do, which is to nurture and take care of myself. So I'm going to flip the camera around so that we can take a look at a few of my favorite spreads and some crystals to support your self-care practice. As always, it's my hope that these will resonate with you, but if it doesn't, don't worry about it. If it feels like something you want to try, that's great. As always, I definitely welcome your feedback. Let's flip the camera around and we'll take a look. So let's start off by talking about crystals, because then I can have them spread out when we get into the spreads, and that's really why I want to do it. So I'm not going to even pretend otherwise. I've picked 3 crystals. There are tons of crystals that you can use for self-care. These are the few that just jumped out at me right away because I've used all 3 of these repeatedly for self-care. So each one kind of brings something a little bit different, and I've brought a couple examples of each stone, which is another way you can tell that they are a favorite because I have more than one. The first one is going to come as no surprise. I don't know how I'm going to not mention this in like every video, because this is probably, if I had to pick a single, well, this wouldn't win because I've got one crystal that I'm more bonded to than this one, but I'm pretty bonded to this crystal. If you've ever booked a client reading with me about self-care or self-worth, you've definitely seen this crystal. I'm pretty sure it's rare for me to leave it out for those kinds of readings. And if you didn't know, I do like to hand select crystals to support client readings. So I always pick them for the reader, for the type of reading it is, for the querent, based on the energy that I feel it needs to be brought in, that sort of thing. But this one comes out to play a lot for self-worth and self-care readings, and this is my vibrated rose quartz. Now, if I could get like 10 different crystals or more all in this vibrated form, I definitely would. I found these through my local metaphysical shop who had a crystal supplier that connected them for some vibrated rose quartz, and there was another stone as well that I also bought. But what's lovely about this is that rose quartz is it's a stone that has a lot of character and a lot of like sort of striations, crackles, and things like that in it, just like any other form of quartz, but it has a very natural jagged feel. And what's lovely about this is that rather than just being tumbled in order to bring out the sort of softer edges, it's been vibrated. I don't fully know how that process works. I just have never felt a stone that has this kind of texture where it feels really rough and it has lots of little nooks and crannies, but they're all softened. It's literally like somebody went through and just sort of carefully sanded just all the little points and edges. There's nothing sharp on here. It just feels really nice. Anyways, that was a whole ramble about the vibration process. But anyways, it's just, rose quartz is one of those go-tos for self-care for me because it's got a very loving energy. It's very soft. It's very soothing to look at and to handle. Its energy is very, loving. That's the best way I know how to express it. So when I'm looking for that sense of like self-compassion and self-love that I'm often looking for in a self-care practice, this is a natural choice for me. So that is vibrated rose quartz. I don't have any truly rough pieces of rose quartz, which is actually a bummer. I feel like I used to have some rough rose quartz, but I don't now. All I have is this piece for like more of a rough look, I think. And then I've got tumbles. So I've got a couple tumbles here so you can see what those look like. Now, rose quartz tumbles typically have that same pink hue, but they also have a bit of transparency. I have gotten pieces before that look a little milkier, but I'm not entirely convinced that those are not pink calcite. Pink calcite can look a lot milkier in its appearance sometimes, but then again, rose quartz may as well, and I am no quartz expert, but these are the ones I tend to go for. These smaller tumbles are great to put in a pocket when you need that boost of self-care, and this is my big beefy guy that I just love to hold and play with and bring into my bath and all that kinds of stuff. So this is definitely a favorite. Another favorite that I reach for a lot is blue calcite. Now, calcite is one of those stones that just feels all of the different, they've got lots of different kinds of calcite. I have lots of different ones in my collection. This is a rough piece of blue calcite. That's what that looks like. And it has this kind of interesting feel. You always will know calcite when you find it once you've gotten to know it a little bit, because it kind of almost feels like waxy or plasticky on its smooth parts. And it's a little bit light feeling, but calcite is just a really great all-arounder crystal, and you can get it in a bunch of variations. So you can get the ones I have anyways. I have honey calcite, orange calcite, blood calcite, which is a really deep brick red. And I think I've talked about that actually in body acceptance crystals that I like. You can also get pink manganese calcite, which I talked about, has a milkier kind of look to it. And optically clear calcite, which is a whole different animal. But anyways, or crystal, I should say, not animal. I also have it in a palm stone, and I love this palm stone. I got this at a local gem and mineral show, and I adore this stone. It feels somehow warmer than other palm stones, and I think that has to do with that sort of almost plasticky feel of calcite. It's like less cold, and it's almost instantly soothing. Now, I love palm stones in general for self-care or for self-soothing because they're very texturally satisfying, and I've discovered that is something that is important to me. But palm stones are just really, really wonderful. They're often a little bit larger and beefier, and you can just tuck them into your palm and really give them a good squeeze. And I just love meditating with palm stones. I love holding palm stones, but blue calcite, I enjoy blue calcite because it has, to me, a very healing energy. It's got a similar color to celestite, which is a really wonderful one for sort of connecting with spirit guides, but this just feels a little bit more, it feels like the water element in a stone, right? So if you're looking for that sort of water element feel, that sort of healing energy, this is great. And when I'm dealing with anything in my life that I feel like I need to really dig into my self-care practice for, blue calcite is so great because I usually do need some form of healing, or am wanting some form of healing, usually emotional support type healing, but sometimes other types as well. And this is just a very healing vibe to this stone. So I really enjoy that one. I'll put that one over here. And lastly, I want to talk about something that has a totally different kind of vibe. So this is actually Septarian Nodule, and I have this one. I call this a palm stone. It's a little bit, it's like a large tumble really, but it still feels substantial enough to use as a palm stone. What's neat about Septarian Nodule is that it's basically, as I understand it, it is petrified mud. So these are like, this is like mud that has petrified, and then where the cracks have formed, other minerals have gone in, and I believe this is actually a type of calcite, like yellow calcite, that's gotten in there. I could be getting my minerals wrong, and anybody who knows, please feel free to correct me down below, but these really tan parts are like mud. So this feels like a very, very earthy stone, and it's incredibly grounding and soothing and calming to me. And in fact, I picked this piece up at the Northwest Tarot Symposium in 2019. I had to think about that for a minute. And it was great because I was really like sort of floaty from all the energy, and I picked this up from one of the crystal vendors there, and I literally just carried it in my pocket and kept like touching it. So this is really great when I need to kind of bring the energy a little bit down, bring it more stable. And that's if I'm feeling really anxious, if I'm feeling a little bit floaty, or I'm having a hard time getting my thoughts sort of centered and grounded, this is such a great one to reach for. And it's less heavy feeling or grounded feeling than a stone like hematite that can be incredibly grounding. This feels more like it connects me to the earth element without weighing me down or making me feel overly sluggish, if that makes any sense. So this is really great. So this is my palm stone version. I love this stone. I love the way it looks. And I actually also picked up at a mineral show a Septarian Nodule like slice here, and I love this piece. This originally was, I think, glued to some kind of like plaque. It's got all this like residue on the back, but I love this side. And I think it's actually been treated with some kind of a gloss, but it is really pretty, and it's really fun to get something like this and like charge your cards on it, or like shuffle your deck on something like this. And I just realized at this angle, it literally looks like a face. Does anybody else see that? Like eye, almost like a little sloth face or something. I may not ever be able to unsee that. So we'll see. We'll see if I can ever unsee that. But anyway, so that is Septarian nodule. And that's a little bit more like what it might look like in its more raw form, I guess. I've only ever really seen it in 3 forms. I've seen it in slices like this. I've seen it in like less commonly in round stones like this. And then Peggy has a piece that's called a dragon egg. And it doesn't have any of this golden like calcite. It just is like the mud and these like dark parts which are very crystallized, and it's in the shape of an egg that's kind of got a chunk out of it. I should have grabbed it to show. You know what? I'm going to grab it because I can edit this. I'll edit the pause out. I'm going to go grab it. Anyways, okay, so I went, that was quite a break. I went to go get it, and then I got distracted talking to Peggy and Steve. And anyways, I'm back now. So this is Peggy's Septarian, her dragon's egg. So this is Septarian nodule, and as you can tell, it's got all the dark. It's like it's been cut open. And this is very druzy-like. Like if you know druzy at all, this is very druzy-like. It's kind of got like a sparkly appearance. This one's a little bit dusty, but you get the idea. And she sits it on a little stand, and it literally looks like a dragon's egg that has broken open, but this is like where all the petrified mud is. I'm sure there's another mineral in there. Again, somebody please feel free to correct me, but I just think that's really cool. So this is Peggy's piece. I've just babbled probably about Septarian for way too long, but anyways, that is what they look like. It's a really neat stone, and it's really great for grounding. That's basically the point of what I was saying, was that just this is a really great one for grounding. So there's that. Okay, so let's talk about spreads for self-care. So I've got a few here to share with you, and I've pulled out a couple of extra decks. So I've got my Whispering Spirits Tarot by Joanna Nelson, and I also have the Way of the Panda Tarot. This is by Kimberly Sand, and this one is really great also for self-care work. So these are both going to be good. I don't think I talked about either of these in my decks and books for body acceptance, or for self-care rather. So now you've got a couple others that you could possibly throw in that pile, because these are also both really great. So let's talk spreads. So let's use the Whispering Spirits first. So the first spread, and we'll do a sample read together, is called Want, Need, Celebrate. And this is a spread that I created to just help anchor into what it is that's really going on. And it's basically really simple. 3 card positions. What you want, what you need, because those are not always the same thing, and what you can celebrate in this moment. So a lot of times what happens is that we are in a position where we think we want something, and we need to focus in. What is it that we want? What is it that we need? And what can we celebrate? Because there's always a moment to have a little bit of gratitude, no matter what is going on. And that can just help to soothe yourself a little bit when you're in a space where you really need that self-care boost. So let's do that with this reading. What we want, what I want, what I need, and what I can celebrate in this moment right now. So for want, I have the King of Cups. I love that. I'll explain why. For need, I have the Empress. And for celebrate, I have the Chariot. Oh wow, big energies. Cool. So first of all, for want, I have the King of Cups. And this is one of the cards that is a significator for Peggy for me in my life. So in the want category, it's like, okay, I probably want some attention, love, care, etc. I want some quality time with Peggy. That makes sense. But what do I need in this moment? Well, the Empress is somebody who I associate as being very self-possessed. She takes care of herself. She's just an excellent self-care card in general. So to me, I'd be like, okay, well, I may want this, but maybe what I actually need is to focus on filling my own cup instead of necessarily going to somebody else to fill it. So that's maybe how I would look at that. Is like, okay, I want to hang out with Peggy and have her make me feel better, but maybe I need to make myself feel better in this moment instead. And I think that's a really empowering message to get in a reading like this. And then what can I celebrate? The Chariot. Now the Chariot is my birth card. So I could look at, or not my birth card, excuse me, but my sun sign card. I'm a Cancer sun sign, and the Chariot is associated with the sun sign of Cancer. So I could look at this and go, oh, I could celebrate me, which is kind of awesome in a reading like this. I could also look at this as like, I can celebrate the fact that I'm making forward progress in my self-worth practice. I'm definitely gaining some momentum in that area. The more that I talk about it, the more that I embody it myself, and that's really helpful when I'm sharing these practices with you guys. So that would be something I could celebrate. So want, need, celebrate. Super easy 3-card reading. And I tend to focus on 3-card readings for most of my basic spread needs because I just feel like it's a really handy way to do a reading without there being too much pressure. It's easy, breezy, and I like it. So that is that spread. The next spread I want to talk about is how to handle or how to address self-care within a relationship. So what I like to do for a reading like this, so it kind of bounces off a little bit actually out of that prior reading that I just did. But what I like to do with this spread is look at myself, look at the other person, and this could be a romantic relationship, it could be a friendship, a familial relationship, a platonic connection of some kind, a work relationship. But oftentimes when I'm needing self-care, it's because there's some sort of interpersonal stress. So this could be stress in a relationship or stress at work. Maybe I'm not getting along with somebody, or I'm feeling some sort of that tension that comes along with just dealing with other people in general. Like life is all about that. So I will look at this spread as a way to see, okay, what's going on with me, what's going on with them, and how can I balance the two? Like, and it's a great overall relationship spread to do, but it's wonderful in a self-care practice because a lot of times we can focus too much on pleasing the other person, not enough on pleasing ourselves, or we could be too self-focused and not really be thinking about the other person. So it's a good way to look at that give and receive exchange of energy with other people. So let's do a little sample spread. So first me. The lovers. Okay, how awesome is that? That's perfect. Okay, this is going to probably echo that other reading, I bet. I bet it is. So there's the lovers, and then let's look at the other person, the fool. And balancing the two, we have the Nine of Pentacles. Oh, this is such a sweet reading. So first of all, the lovers for me tells me that I'm in a place that's all about connection and leaning into other people. Now this could also be a heads up that I might be being a little bit codependent, particularly when you look at the other reading I just did, where I felt like the want was to connect with others, but the need was to focus on sort of filling my own cup, taking care of my own needs, so to speak. And so this kind of does echo that. If I hadn't have done that previous reading, I'm not sure if I'd read it the same way, but you never know. You can always deal with these, like read each card as its own situation, right? But so in this case, I'm kind of looking at me as like somebody who's like wanting connection or leaning into connection. And then them in this situation, the fool. So this to me could indicate that somebody's maybe being a little bit oblivious, but so like, for example, let's say I'm feeling a little bit lonely or feeling a little bit ignored or whatever. This energy would say, okay, I'm really craving that connection and I'm maybe feeling like I'm not getting it. And then on this side, the fool would indicate to me that the other person isn't necessarily intentionally ignoring me. They just probably are a little bit oblivious to my needs, or they're not recognizing that that's what I'm wanting from them right now. So there's a bit of a disconnect. So how can we harmonize the two? The Nine of Pentacles. This is such a great card. Now to me, the Nine of Pentacles is about enjoying what you have. So here our little panda is nomming on some bamboo or whatever it is. They're nomming on some sugar cane, I'm not sure. And we have all of this abundance around them. So there's a lot of good. And this is, to me, it would be a reminder to lean into gratitude. That's how I can balance these two energies. And practically, I might also take a reading like this and specifically draw another card around maybe asking a follow-up question like, okay, I'm feeling a need to connect. I'm feeling maybe a little ignored. The other person's probably just being oblivious. Okay, so how can I communicate what it is that I want or need? If I've done this gratitude practice and I'm still feeling that sense of disconnect, how can I communicate that? And I'll often do these follow-up questions to readings. So here's one where I might do that. So how can I best communicate that? How can I kind of bridge that gap better? And we have, oh, that was a 2-card pull. There we go. The Hermit. So to me, this would be like, again, a buck up message of like, wait. You shouldn't be requiring other people to serve your happiness to you on a platter, right? Like you need to take care of your own needs. That, again, that's echoing that same message. So that's really cool. So that's that reading. So it's you, the other person, and how to bridge the gap. So that's really great if you're dealing with interpersonal conflict and you're feeling like really depleted, you're not sure what's going on. It's a great way to see what's going on in the dynamics of a relationship. And finally, oops, I always need to do a clear shuffle, like to kind of clear the reading after I've done one. Okay. So our last spread is, should I say yes or no to fill in the blank? So it's kind of like, this is about how saying yes affects me, the other person, how saying no affects me or the other person, and the final card is for advice. So there's a whole bunch of different cards in this position. So we're going to look at me, the other person, me, the other person. So that's 4 cards, and then our 5th card is advice. So let's say the situation is I've been asked to take on a new project at work. And my boss has asked me to do this. I'm not sure about my bandwidth. I don't know if I should say yes or say no. It could come with some extra accolades, but it's also going to come with more responsibility. So this is the situation I'm in. And what is best for me and my self-care? Like, how can I best take care of myself in this process? And so what we're going to do is we're going to first pull a card for, should I say yes or no? So how saying yes will affect me and how it will affect my workplace, my boss in this case, like how it will affect the person asking me. So let me just split the deck again because I'm not sure if I did already. All right. So how saying yes will affect me. 9 of Cups. That's an excellent card. That is like, oh, that's really good. That's blessings. That's wishes fulfilled. That's very, very positive. How saying yes will affect the other person. The Witchy Panda. Okay, I'm going to take that out because that's a bonus card, and I don't know why, but it just doesn't, I don't know. For some reason, I don't want it in this reading. Okay, King of Pentacles. So that person, that as a boss, like as the boss in this situation, the King of Pentacles is going to feel like, okay, their authority is respected. They're able to get things done. They're feeling like they're on top of their game. So very positive on both sides. So let me scooch these up. And now let's see, how will saying no affect, and I'll sometimes shuffle in between, and I feel like I want to do that now, so I'm just going to cut the deck again. How will saying no affect me? Queen of Wands. Okay, well, I'll feel empowered. I'll definitely feel like I have stood up for myself and, you know, stated my boundaries, and that'll make me feel empowered and like I'm in my agency. But how will it affect the other person? Queen of Cups. Now, to me, this tells me that it could be possible that saying no in this situation could actually make the other person feel like their feelings are hurt a little bit. The Queen of Cups is somebody who's very in their feelings, and they might feel a little bit maybe disappointed, or they might have some emotions around it. I don't get the feeling that there'll be any tangible like financial hardship to that person or to me by saying no, but it does look like there may be some disappointment or some other emotional impact. Oh! I totally just kicked my camera. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it right now. I had to let my dog out, and then next thing you know, I've kicked my camera. There. That's good. Okay. And the 5th card is my final advice card. Based on what I've seen here, what's the last bit of advice maybe from Spirit on this issue? Oh my God, my dog is like in, and then she's out, and then she's in, and then she's out. That's hilarious. Okay, anyway. Final advice. The Wheel of Fortune. Now, to me, this is about taking advantage of opportunities when they show up, being willing to change and roll with changes, not being resistant to change. And so for me, given how I interpret this card typically, I would see this as a gentle reminder to be willing and open to new experiences. So given the positive cards up here in the yes section and the fine but less obviously positive cards for both parties in the no section, this might help me make that decision. And this Wheel of Fortune advice card tells me that what's good for me in this situation is that it will help me to roll with change. I'll be open to new experiences, and that will ultimately benefit me in the end. Oh my gosh, are you guys hearing this? She's in and then she's out. It's hilarious. So that, my friends, are some go-to spreads that I like to play with when I'm in situations that require me to focus on self-care. I would be super curious to hear from you guys down below. Are these ones you're going to play around with? Do you think they would be helpful in your self-care practice? Let me know. I love reading the comments in these videos. She wants out again. So definitely let me know. Please do hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you are new here so you see my videos in your subscription feed. Definitely remember to hit the bell so that you are notified of my future videos. And remember, if you want to book a one-on-one tarot reading with me, you can always do that over at supportivetarot.com. Thank you so much, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys.